What's up, guys? So I want to show you real quick what my trip sheets look like. At the end of each trip, I fill one of these out, and I'll go over it in detail right after this. Howdy, folks. Welcome to this episode of Trucking with Bones, a show that is generously informative, painfully honest, uniquely car hauling, and quite often boring. All right, here we go. Welcome to Studio 825, otherwise known as the Mothership. Well, I'm sitting here with my back to a big old pine tree up in the mountains of Idaho. Sun's setting here pretty quickly right there over that mountain. Let's see. Yeah, I can't really see it good, but check it out. Got a fire down there between my feet. I'm not going to let it burn long. And I've got water to make sure that it's completely out safe. Pine needles are damp enough that it's not going to go anywhere. And once it's out, I'll cover the spot back up with pine needles, and somebody have to look real close to know that I was here. Doggo's chasing a rabbit somewhere right here close. She's loving it, getting out here. She's getting to where she knows the weekly cycle. Come the weekend, she is ready to get out and go. She knows it's hiking day. Don't you, darling? Yeah, don't you, girl? Don't you, girl? You like it out here as much as I do, don't you? Yeah. You rotten girl, you. And there she goes. She just came to say hi for a minute. And she's back there sniffing out a trail. Right off through there. Alright, thanks for sticking around. Okay, so as you can see, I've got a date the trip begins, a date the trip ends. I've got driver name, passenger, and truck number, trailer number, and the trip number. So the way my trip number works is 02 is for February, 07 is the number of trips I've done in this year, and remember I didn't start until the 20th of January, and then of course the year. Over here you'll have where the city and the state that the trip started in, the city and the state the trip ended in, the beginning mileage and the ending mileage on your odometer, and the total trip miles, which is 1,557 miles. The states, now there's a couple ways you can keep up with this. This right here is for IFTA purposes. You can use your GPS. Trucker's version of GPS will keep up with the number of states you drove in and how many miles in each state. Now, in order to keep up with the total gallons used, though, you have to enter it every time you fuel up, and you have to remember to do that, because if you forget it, then you got to go back and sort through your receipts and try to figure out which one went to what state, and it's just a little bit of a pain. But a GPS, a trucker's version GPS, will do the same thing. So I've got the amount that I spent and the number of gallons purchased. The amount that I spent and the number of gallons purchased. Down here I total it up on both the dollar amount and the total gallons used. Down here again is the total mileage. This number should always match this number. And when I'm mathing, it doesn't always, so I always got to double check my math up here to make sure that I did all this math correctly where I transferred it over to here. So this is the total state miles total miles per state. And when I turn this in to process IFTA, they just take this information, enter it into the system, and it's done. Now, this bottom half of the page, this is a COD record. Out of the 6 units that I transported on this trip, 5 of them were COD, and all 5 paid in cash this time. Now, what I do when I get cash like this, I may keep just a little bit, just for miscellaneous stuff. You know, cheeseburger for the next best thing, or veggie burger for me, or whatever. But I go to Walmart and I send cash back to my wife, who puts it in our business account. So I don't carry that kind of cash around all the time. But so here's what I do: the dates the vehicles were delivered, all of which were done on the same day into the trip, the load ID, the customer, who is in this case the broker for each one of these loads, how it paid. And if it's a check, the check amount goes in this column and the check number goes over here in this column. And then of course down at the bottom you'll total it up. So as you can see on this trip, I did $2.87 a mile. I had a gross revenue of $4,475. Remaining balance is what needs to be invoiced for. So of the 6, 1 of them is not a COD. So this unit, I take I scan. I use Scanner Pro on my phone, scan app, because when you take a picture of this or anything else, and you send it into the office, it can be printed out, but it's printed out as a photograph, and it takes a lot more ink, and it just doesn't print as nicely. But when you use a scanner app, it saves it as a PDF file and makes it easy to print. So I've already taken a scanned photograph of the bill of lading for this, and I've sent it into the office for invoicing purposes, and I always try to do that within 24 hours. I also try to complete this entire trip sheet and send it in within 24 hours. Now, I keep a record down here on the bottom of def purchase, because in this particular trip sheet there's not a spot for it. Now you'll see down here I don't have anything in any of these lines, because in this case I didn't have any miscellaneous expenses such as truck repair or trailer repair. I didn't get any scales. I didn't do any cat scales. Should have. My load was 34,500 pounds exactly. When I went across the California scale, one of those rolling scales, they red lighted me, had me go around and come across and stop on the static scale. Gave me the green light, told me to exit the highway, but I was sweating bullets. So I rearranged my load a little bit before the next scale, because I didn't want to take a chance on the next people being quite so understanding. At any rate, I didn't spend any money on parking, no oil changes, no trip packs, and no tire repair. Now that the month is over, I am going to send in a trip pack that includes all of my paperwork. And a trip pack is it's an overnight package you can pick up at most large truck stops. You stick it in the mail right there at the truck stop, and it gets sent straight to the home office. You can send checks, you can do whatever. Now I normally stop at a bank and make a deposit, but you can mail your checks in. So this is a basic trip sheet. As you can see, it shows what I did. So on this particular trip, my trip started on the 24th. Sorry, that was supposed to be the 25th. I got to correct that. Started on the 25th, ended on the 28th. And during that time, I did $4,475 gross. So not a bad trip. That's what your average trip should look like. It was a fairly quick, easy, smooth trip. Every single one of these was an individual pick and drop. I didn't have any of them that picked up multiple vehicles at one location. So this was a decent all-around trip. I've had better and I've had worse, but whenever you have a good dispatcher working, this is just a good average trip. Anyway, I've had a lot of people ask about how I keep up with my trip stuff, so thought I'd show you this. I'm chilling here in bed with Doggo, who's being quite lazy, and doing my paperwork. Y'all have a good one.
For those of you that hung on until the end, thank you for supporting this YouTube channel that shows life on the road as a car hauler and makes an attempt at providing honest and up-to-date information about how to succeed in the car hauling industry. We appreciate every one of you that subscribes and shares and likes these videos. A big thank you from Doggo. Life is short. Live it well. Surround yourself with important people. Choose your saddle partners carefully because they may turn on you without warning. Set a good example for tomorrow's saddle partners. Make sure you can look yourself in the mirror. The best view of the world is between the ears of a good horse. Never fail to look for the beauty in the world around you. Live your life in a way that inspires your children to go farther and be more. No regrets.